What's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people, and Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and this is my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing all right. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
You can.
I surely can.
Okay, what about now? Because I changed my...
Yeah, I can hear you. Now, I'm going to ask everybody in the audience really quickly. Can y'all give us a quick sound check? Microphone check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Give us a yes if you can hear us. Okay, let us know if you can hear us, if you can hear us in the chat. Now, today we have an interesting topic, a really shocking topic that I wanted to talk to you about because you are a mental health professional. In case you don't know, my lovely wife, she isn't just the cutest thing smoking. She's also a licensed therapist with 20 plus years experience and a full professor of social work. And she works in hospice care with lots of senior citizens and things like that. And Joe Biden, give me a yes in the chat. How many of y'all have been checking out Joe Biden and hearing about just some of the craziest things coming out of his mouth? Has anybody seen this? This poor guy, he's on the ropes. I mean, it's like the moment it looks like he's trying to make a comeback, everything's just going flat. Like, in case y'all don't know, let me give you a quick update from my perspective. Then I'm gonna let my wife talk because she's the mental health professional. All right, first there was the NATO thing where he says something about he was talking about Vladimir Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine, and he says, "I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Putin." Did I say Vladimir Zelensky? Not Vladimir Zelensky. See, even
now
I got
you're doing. See,
look at it now. See, but that's why I'm not president. That's why I'm not president. But I said Vladimir Zelensky. His name's not Vladimir. Anyway, so see, look, there you go. It's easy to mess up, right? So anyway, he mentioned Vladimir Putin as the president of Ukraine, and then he mentioned he's talking about Kamala Harris, and they asked him if Kamala could be president if she had to take over. And he said, it's something to the effect like, I have a lot of faith in Vice President Trump to that she can be president if something were to happen. So he basically refers to Kamala Harris as Trump and Volodymyr. I think it's Volodymyr Zelensky. I think there is like a Volodymyr.
Let's just say President Zelensky.
I'm gonna look his name up though, because y'all ain't gonna be pinning it on me. Dr. Boyce, you need to step down. You cannot run the Black business school because you clearly lost your mind. Well, you should have known I was crazy a long time ago, but I ain't got no nuclear weapons, so it's a different situation. But anyway, here's the deal. So it looks like he's really slipping. I think that they're having a harder and harder time defending him. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so clearly there's some cognitive decline, and oh gosh, Boyce, I think it's getting to the point where it's not even funny anymore. Like, I'm, as a mental health professional, I'm like super concerned with him, and partly like parading him in front of everybody. He has the debate, which is high stakes press conferences, debates, all of these areas where he really needs to bring it home. And he really needs to make his ideas and ideas and everything sharp and clear for the public to be able to really understand what he as president and his cabinet, the ideas and the policies that he's promoting, he has to be able to speak in a way almost like how Donald Trump speaks. Like, Donald Trump speaks at a fourth grade level. That's how you need to talk. Very succinct and straight to the point. And he's not been able to deliver. He's got a lot of great things happening in his cabinet, honestly. Like, I follow it. I'm a social worker. I am all about compassion and empathy and understanding. So I like some of the things that they're doing in the White House, quite honestly, as a mental health professional. I love the things that they're pushing, but I'm just concerned that the wonderful things that I think that they're doing for everybody, right? I think that they're having a hard time translating that to the public, letting us as voters be able to clearly understand the policies he is for. And he's not able to do that in a way where the public understands where he's coming from. So I think, like, as the president of the United States, the person who's in charge of this is very concerning. Like, we're worried about I'm really worried about him, almost like I'd be worried about my grandpa or any older individual who isn't quite as sharp as they used to be. So this is very concerning, very concerning. And I don't understand what the Democratic Party, what they're doing, why they're parading him around when he's clearly messing up like this. He is basically delivering this presidential win to Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't even need to campaign anymore. All he's got to do is let Biden get up there. Biden's campaigning for him. And I feel like it's really gotten to the point where it's not even funny anymore. Like I'm really seeing it as a serious situation from my clinical perspective.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that what's interesting and it's a problem is, let's assume you're in the camp that that you're in, right? Where you like Biden's policies, and I can tell you, I'm married to a woman that is a big supporter of Biden, and again, I just have an issue with the whole mass incarceration. I can't get past the Biden crime bill. It's just like, like just like we can't pretend like Diddy didn't rape somebody 20 years ago and act like it's not happening anymore. I think the same thing is true when you talk about a crime against humanity that came through mass incarceration. I think that should be fixed, right? So I personally, as a black man, can't move past that. However, I understand people who like him, right? And it almost seems to me, honestly, that this really reveals another failing of our political system, twofold, among many failings. One is that you have a guy up there who's clearly not the best candidate for the job. I mean, even if you vote for him, you can never make an argument that he's the best guy available. The only argument that you can make is he's better than Trump, which I understand that. I understand people that feel that way. But then the other part of it that reveals a failing in the system is that leadership is always about sort of having these figureheads, having this like that one guy that's like the one leader, and and that's just not the best type of leadership, in my opinion. I think that if you are voting for something as serious as president of the United States, I'd rather vote for a team. It's like, for example, you look at Apple. Yeah, they've got a figurehead, Tim Cook, that's the CEO. But then they got a board of directors. They've got a team, that's running Apple. So that even if Tim Cook was blind, deaf, dumb, and crazy, it wouldn't matter. Apple's still going to be Appling because they've got this great team of really smart people that are putting things together collectively. And I really think even black leadership, I never liked the type of leadership we always had where we'd have one guy and everybody would look up to that one guy. And then when you find out that one guy was cheating on his wife or that one guy was doing something unethical, then suddenly the whole movement dies. I think it should be a systematic effort. And I think that when you look at the presidency, it really is an administration. And so those who support Biden, and I respect you if you do, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I think that I get where they're coming from. They're basically saying, look, as a team, whoever's making the decisions, they're doing a good job. And then when you get to the point where you have to put this poor little foot shuffling old man out in front of people and have him show how smart he is, he just can't do that anymore. So he's almost like, remember back in the day when they would have the old Queen of England or whatever, and she's just a figurehead. They just put on a popsicle stick and roll her around town, but she ain't really in the office making big decisions. And I hope that that's the case with Biden, but this is disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, it is disturbing. And of course, you can never do anything on your own. But he has people in his cabinet, right? And he's the leader of this in his cabinet. So I think that he has to be able to lead. I'm sorry. He has to be able to lead. And to do that, you have to be of sound mind. Now, I want to make this clear, as a clinical therapist, I'm not here to diagnose him as senile, right? I'm not here to diagnose. I'm not here to treat anybody or cure anybody. However, we can look at some of the behaviors that all of us have seen visual and use this as an example of what senile looks like, the beginning stages of Parkinson's, the shuffling and all of that. Like, we can look at his behaviors and point to it and say, okay, these are some indicators that there's some cognitive issues happening and it's not firing right. And so just, I'm concerned. I have a lot of concerns for Donald Trump, just his narcissism, his policies, like all of the things that's concerning to me too. So I don't know. I kind of feel like, let's shift gears, because I kind of think that, knowing what we know about Biden and some of the struggles that he's been having visually, right? Mm-hmm. Why do they keep every single day, multiple times a day. Why do they keep putting him in front of everybody? So I'm almost wondering, like, what's happening behind the scenes? Like, what are people whispering about? What do they know that we don't know? That as soon as he makes these kind of mistakes in his speech and in his words, it's all of a sudden kind of played up. And so it makes me wonder, behind the scenes, is there some campaign to really illustrate how he's having this decline? Therefore, is there somebody else coming behind him or getting ready to come behind him to replace things? I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe people have strategy. I do not believe for 1 minute that the Democratic Party, they don't have a strategy. They have to know on some level that, looking at what the polls are saying, looking at that there's some concern, because what I'm seeing, it's got to be the same thing that other people are seeing, that Biden is not going to be able to beat out Trump. So maybe there's some concerted effort to go ahead and let Biden, so to speak, sink and fall, because maybe there's a big plan to usher in somebody else that can take a hold of this, because a Biden-Trump presidency is problematic for people who are, like myself, progressives. That's
Okay.
my sort of thinking about it.
All right. Everybody, in case you just came in, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. We love to talk about issues in the Black community and talk about it from an intelligent perspective. My PhD is in finance, so I like to talk about economics behind everything. And my wife is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. And she's been seeing clients for a long time. If you'd like to connect with her and see what she does, feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. If everybody could please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, don't forget this podcast is on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify and look up Boyce Watkins, you will find that I actually have more than one podcast on Spotify. I have a stock market podcast and stuff like that. So feel free to check us out. So let me ask you all a question. Answer me in the chat. Give me a yes in the chat if you feel this way. I took a poll on Twitter and I asked, would you vote for Biden? If you are a Biden supporter, would you still vote for him, even if it's 100% clear that he's not qualified, that he's losing his mind, that he's got, dementia and everything else? Would you still support him? Give me a yes or no. Again, I know some of you are not Biden supporters. Some of you are not going to vote. Some of you are going to vote independent. Some of you are going to be Trump supporters. And I want you to know all of you are welcome. All of you are welcome to have your opinion. I just don't like Black folks fighting over which white man they love the most. I don't like that. I don't like seeing. I don't like seeing. Black people. You talking to your cousin who's been down for you since you were a baby, and now you're not speaking to your cousin because he's a Trump supporter. You really think Donald Trump or Joe Biden cares about you that much? Like, seriously, stop that. Just agree to disagree and stop that with nonsense, because they ain't putting nearly as much attention into you, and that's why you got a million problems and they don't have none. They got 99 problems and Black people ain't one. So stop giving your best to people who are giving you their worst. All right, so I'm going to reveal the poll I took on Twitter. I asked on Twitter, my Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins and the number 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. Please follow me on Twitter so I don't have to go debate with idiots. Anyway, on Twitter, I asked the simple question. I said, if Joe Biden has severe dementia, would you still elect him as president? And on the Twitter poll, 23% of you said yes. 23.7%, which actually is a bigger number than it looks like, because I'm sure there were some Trump supporters who voted too. And then 76.3% said no. And so it looks like the majority of people feel like if this guy shows he can't do it, they're going to get rid of him. But I actually saw something where there's a political scientist who made the argument that that Biden is still their best bet, that replacing him will still be a very bad idea. Yeah, this guy,
Okay.
he said, he says he predicts elections for a living. He said if you replace him, you're done. And so even though it intuitively seems that you want to get him out of the race because he's fallen all over himself, he's embarrassing himself, there are experts who really believe, look, this is your best guy because he's a brand, he's a name, right? I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's not what I'm seeing. So I would like to explore that. Send that to me, Boyce. I want to look at that some more to find out exactly what information this person is taking in to draw this conclusion. I'm just seeing overwhelmingly support for Trump. Like Trump, the people who are the Trumpsters, they look at Donald Trump as if he can do no wrong. Like they don't care. He can get up there and say anything that he wants. He wants to say, he wants to do. He could just almost, the Supreme Court has given him the ability to really do anything to some extent. And I think his supporters are just solid. He has very, very solid supporters. And it's a lot. It's more than you would think. Like, I think that the last presidency, Biden barely edged out Trump. And some people believe that he never won the election. I mean, that's how serious these Trump supporters are. They don't even believe in real Republicans who come out and said, listen, we looked at the evidence. Biden won. I mean, these are Republicans that went over all of the votes and said, look, we went through this tooth and nail, and Trump needs to step down. And he never did. He never seceded, right? Isn't that true? Trump never said, Biden, it's yours. So, I mean, this is what we're up against. This is concerning, Boyce. We need to have something a little more easy. Like, I wouldn't feel very uneasy if Trump was elected president again. I have got to say that. Like, just as a human being, I would be very concerned with Trump.
I get it, and I hear that, and I understand. I've never liked Donald Trump much as a person. I'm talking about going back 35 years. I've been paying attention to this guy, and I remember when he was just known for being the rich guy, and I saw him more so like an arrogant white male, and that's just what it was. And I think that it's really interesting to me when you talk about how much leeway we give our politicians, how much we. A Biden supporter, typically 9 times out of 10, a Biden supporter is going to be a Biden supporter is going to be a Biden supporter. And same thing is true with Trump. Trump, made the comment where he said, I could go out and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and people would still love me. And here's the thing. It's not that everybody loves Trump or everybody loves Biden. It's just that when they say, well, what's my alternative? Then the alternative is just repulsive to them. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. A Trump supporter cannot, a real hardcore Trump supporter cannot become a Biden supporter, right? So if you feel like you have to vote for one of the major parties, it's just like somebody telling you, you've got to either live in the desert or live on the moon. And it's hard to go from the moon to the desert, or the desert to the moon. And so people just say, look, out of political desperation, and that's what we have political desperation because beggars can't be choosy. And your options are so limited that you just stand by your guy, and that's just it. Because we've been trained to be so afraid of the other person. So the same degree of fear that Biden supporters have, because they keep talking about this Project 2025 and how horrible life is going to be because they're going to come in and do all these things that they didn't do the first time. Remember, they had 4 years to do all these horrible things they were going to do. They could have did it in 2016, y'all. Y'all do know that, right? You do know we had 4 years of a Trump presidency. And I don't think any of y'all died. How many of y'all got killed during the first Trump presidency?
Well, a lot of people with the mishandling of the pandemic. A lot of people did. We know people. I have people in my family that died of COVID.
And I think that was and they probably died during the Biden administration. There wasn't a pandemic. Both of these guys were president during COVID. So to me, I don't think. I know we want to make it. And here's the other thing. COVID, the pandemic, yes, people died during the pandemic. That's all very, very real. But 109 people got shot this weekend in Chicago. That's not the end of the world. The world keeps spinning even when people die, right? So I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that all the stretches of the imagination that we use to try to convince each other that the world's going to come to an end if the other guy gets elected, I think that's a disingenuous way to get votes. I do not like that because what you're leaning on is complete fear. You're trying to get people scared.
I think both sides are fear mongering. So I think like definitely the Trumpers, they're fear mongering. Everything is good. All this terrible things will happen if Biden has another term, and they're doing the same thing for the other side. That if Trump becomes president, all hell's going to break loose and it's going to be end of the world. I don't think any of that is going to happen. I'm a little more, balanced. And by the way, I am a Green Party supporter. So I don't think the Democrats or the Republicans, they don't do enough for me. So I'm ultra liberal, in case you haven't learned that, Boyce. I'm ultra liberal, and I'm definitely in favor of the Green Party, which the Green Party is the only party that's in support of reparations for slavery. So that's the party for me. That's important to us.
I think that's nice. And there's no problem with that. Like, I don't take it seriously. I don't really take a person's politics that seriously, because it doesn't affect what kind of person you are. If you're a nice person, or I know nice people and assholes that are in both political parties.
Well,
It doesn't. Yeah, it does. No, seriously. No, really. I know people that are Trump supporters who are the nicest people in the world, and I know people who are Trump supporters who I wouldn't want to talk to. And the same thing is true on the liberal side. I have met so many liberals who are pompous assholes, and I met liberals who are wonderful people. So I don't really care what your politics are. I think we can leave, because again, you think about it, some of these issues are very sticky. Like, who am I to tell a woman that she can't choose to terminate her pregnancy? I don't feel like that's my job. But I do have the right to say, you're not going to terminate my baby. If I'm going to if you got my baby, then I got a right to say something. And I think that's okay. I think we can operate in the same space.
Okay. I love science. I love studies. I love study after study have shown that when you correlate, you know what correlation means. One thing is related to another thing, right?
Right.
So they correlate. They gave the masses of Americans a questionnaire about how you score in terms of compassion and empathy. Compassion and empathy. Significant. Okay, significance. High level of variability. You know what means variability explained? That political party, there was huge differences between your political party that you ascribe yourself to and rates of compassion and empathy. And what they found was individuals who were very conservative Republicans scored extremely low on compassion and empathy. And that the Democratic Party, people who ascribe to the Democratic Party, scored way much higher on measures of compassion and empathy. Now, that's a fact. So we know that your orientation does have a lot to do with who you are and the political party that you adhere yourself to. So, and honestly, if you score, and of course, I'm a certified trauma specialist, as well as a licensed therapist, we know that people who score very low on compassion and empathy have a background of trauma in their history, and not being able, because they felt that times when they were vulnerable, they didn't get the attention that they felt like they needed in this time, right? They felt like your thoughts don't matter, your feelings don't matter. That is high level of disregard for individual and humanist thoughts and feelings. So when you grow up with that, sometimes a lot of people ascribe to some of the values of the Republican Party, and some of that is related to issues of trauma and not being able to show compassion and empathy for others. So these are facts here. You can check me.
Okay, so these are fair facts, and I like your facts. So let me give you a perspective. You have a little bit of an echo, babe, so I'm gonna mute you right there. Let me give you a perspective and I'm glad you're muted because I don't want to be interrupted. I didn't interrupt you, so let me state my perspective on this. I think there's very different ways to show empathy. For example, if I believe that every drug addict or alcoholic is disabled, then I don't believe that I'm showing empathy to that person. I believe that I am enabling that person's behavior. I think that I've heard my liberal friends talk about drug addiction as a disease. I don't see it as a disease. I see it as partly a choice. You did make a decision to try those drugs and to do whatever you did with drugs. Now, the addiction might have grabbed onto you and you can't break away from that. But there were values that my drug addict father taught me that probably didn't come from empathy. My father's not a real empathetic person, but he's a tough person and he helped me make smart decisions. So I think that there is an accountability aspect that I personally, I'm not a card carrying Republican in the sense that I'm not voting for either party, but I actually don't understand a lot of the things that the liberals do. I don't understand why. I think there was what is it, the health secretary who's a man dressed as a woman? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand that. I get it if people connect to that, that's fine. But I don't get it. I don't understand why a trans person can go and compete in a girl sport. I think that that's kind of crazy. I don't understand the idea of opening the border so that anybody can come into the country, any terrorist, any killer, any person, anybody that wants to steal jobs from the black community, and they're dumping them all, all these people into our neighborhoods, acting like somehow we're allies. I don't get any of that. So I'm not sitting here trying to say that some of what you say isn't right, but I'm going to stick to my original point. I know people on the right and I know people on the left. I know good people on the right and I know good people on the left, and I know bad people on both sides as well. I know just as many feminists who are about the least empathetic, most self-absorbed people that I've ever met in my life. They're just as bad as the most extreme Trump supporter, most extreme right winger. For example, as a child, where my mother was told to get rid of me, to terminate me, I personally take great offense to the idea that some child who's innocent, who didn't hurt nobody, can easily just be aborted because somebody told their mama that you're better off. You don't have enough money to have this baby, so you might as well just kill them. I think killing a child is a horrible thing. It's my right to feel that way. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I'm just saying that's where I stand, and I think there are lots of people who feel that way, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think killing a child is really awful, but I just wanted to tell you that addiction is a trauma response. It's people's response to trauma. I also want to say that agreement is not the same as empathy. I think the definition of empathy is something that I think is a little missing in this conversation. I think you can show empathy for somebody, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with them. So I think that you got to separate the two. Empathy is just understanding someone else. Agreement, you need to be in a position where you can tolerate difference and dissent, right? You can tolerate a different point of view, this person's point of view and another person's point of view. Everybody are unique individuals and they have their own perspective based on what they understand it to be true. So empathy is just understanding. Agreement, you don't have to agree with anything anybody is saying. So that's what that means when we talk about empathy. It's just being able to, wow, okay, if I could put myself in, if I can try to understand where you're coming from, that's empathy. Compassion is, okay, let me put myself in your shoes, and given the circumstances that you are going through and that you went through, okay, I can totally understand why you would make the decisions that you would make. That doesn't mean that you agree with them. Like, I meet with my clients all the time. It's not my place to agree with any of the decisions that my clients make. Like, it's not my place to judge them. I'm not judging them and telling them they're wrong or anything like that. My point in being a therapist is to try to get people to come up with a path so that they can figure out who and what they are and be comfortable with themselves, no matter what that is. It's not my place to assert my thoughts and feelings onto someone else. That's a whole different topic. So I wanted to make that clarification about what empathy and compassion mean. And these are what the measures we're looking at. Your ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and to be able to understand where they're coming from. That's the empathy that is missing.
Well, I'm
in that party.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you about the importance of empathy. I think empathy does matter. I think that empathy is a good thing to have and to develop. And I think all of us need therapists and everything else. But that doesn't mean all of us have to go, become card carrying members of the Democratic Party. I think people have a right to believe what they want to believe. I think that there's some areas where conservative values, I think, do quite well. Like, for example, keeping a family together. Where someone may say, "Why would you suffer, in a bad marriage because when you're not happy?" Well, someone else might say, "Well, because you have children and your children are going to be harmed if you break up the family, because you want to feel good or you want to go and live your life and be free, and because you feel like you were mistreated or whatever." So I personally think that I think that certain liberal values, I think the welfare state has done horrible things to the Black community. I think that there are, I think affirmative action, as much as we love it, that's a white woman thing now. That's become a white woman immigrant thing. Black people weren't even really benefiting from affirmative action. I'm a believer that we should have Black owned institutions that allow us to create our own version of affirmative action. Because these all these Black jobs we're chasing, you can't pass a W-2 job onto your children. You can't. That doesn't build wealth. That doesn't build any real power. And then also the other thing too is that when the Democrats come along and they give us a couple of crumbs, the political winds change and they take all that right back. And then next thing you know, we're back exactly where we started. And under Democratic Party rule, most cities that have been run by Democrats, the Black communities are in the toilet. Absolute toilet. Does not mean the Republicans would do a better job. I'm not saying the Republicans would do better. I'm saying that the Democrats are doing a horrible job because they were given the responsibility and the opportunity to reciprocate with our vote. And I agree with Malcolm X. Malcolm X said Black Democrats are chumps because you're giving all your support to a party that has completely neglected you. So are the Republicans the answer? I think not. I think that you have a horrible political system where you don't have choices. I think every election, I do not vote Democrat. I do not vote Republican. I vote for Black people and I vote for Black wealth. That's what the hell I'm voting for in this election, because if we build our wealth, and we build our institutions, we build our families, we build our children, we're going to win no matter who's in office. And don't you dare tell me that I'm going to die, my life's going to come to an end because they elected one white man over the other. I just survived 4 years of a Trump presidency. I can survive 4 more. I'm not going to go give support to a bunch of bastards who ignore me every time they get elected. That is highly unacceptable, period. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I definitely agree with everything that you're saying. But there are conservatives that get divorced. I mean, it's not just one party get divorced and another party stays together. So I don't know the logic of that. But when you go to the polls, you're going to vote for Black people, I love that, right? So can you tell me you don't have to say who you're voting for, but what does that look like when you go to the polls? You're going to vote for Black people. And I already talked about, I'm a Green Party, that's my lean. That's my political affiliation is with the Green Party. So when you go, because I know we're going to go and probably vote together. What does that look like specifically? I'm
gonna tell you what it looks like. But before I do that, I want to let everybody know you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. So if you just came in, I hope you'll hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, Dr. Alicia's website and her Instagram handle is coachingwithdralicia.com, or you can go to @coachingwithdralicia to find her. And if you want to get a free e-copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking, you can go to boyceandalicia.com. We also have a 5-day Black Love Challenge because we do believe in Black love and Black family and Black people working through our differences, tolerating each other and loving each other. So that's our core value. So I hope you'll feel free to go to the website and take a look. All right. So here is what I believe when voting for Black people. What does that look like? That's an excellent question. When you cannot go to the poll or the ballot box and really vote for Black people, right? That's not institutionalized in the system. You're given these candidates that you have to vote for. So what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. I'm a man who does. I'm too educated and too smart I don't think I know everything, but I'm smart enough to know when something is not working. I'm a mathematician, and one thing about mathematics is that you learn very early that you cannot solve a problem by applying the wrong solution over and over again, repeatedly, like you're hammering at a door, hoping eventually it's going to come down. Doesn't work. You also cannot, in mathematics, solve a problem by whining and complaining about it. You can't do that. So what you can do, though, is if you want to solve a problem, like say the Black wealth problem or the Black family problem or the Black education problem or the Black violence problem, is you can give yourself in mathematics what they refer to as degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom is where you basically break away from your constraints and you find solutions in a creative way wherever they exist. In fact, in mathematics, it is fundamentally true that the more constraints you put in a math problem, the less likely you are to find the optimal solution. Let me know if y'all are following what I'm saying. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. I'm going to use logic on this. So here's the deal. Black people have not solved our problems because we are operating under these ridiculous constraints. Some of these constraints that we operate under are that one, we need white people's help and permission. That's a constraint because we are a bunch of white supremacists. Number two is that we have to use these political systems that were designed clearly to benefit rich white elite men. They were not built to benefit us. We think these systems are going to solve our problems. And I could keep going down the list. There's about 5 or 6 more constraints, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So here's what I'm proposing. Black problems will be solved by Black people who have liberated minds where they are conscious enough to be unconstrained in terms of how they apply the solution. So what might that mean? So when you tell me that the solution to my educational problem as a Black man is for white people to build better schools in my neighborhood, I'm going to say, no, thank you, sir. That's already been tried. I'm going to go back to before integration and look at what the Black people who came right out of slavery did when they were able to take one-room schools with just a few books and educate kids 10 times better than they're educated today. Or I'm going to look at schools like the Muhammad University of Islam or Freedom Home Academy International, where they've got 10-year-olds that literally have the brains of graduate students. That's what I'm going to study. I'm going to go there. I'm not going to go ask Mr. Charlie to tell me the best way for me to solve a problem that directly affects me. And this is difficult because we're not used to doing that. We're used to treating white folks like they're our parents and that we have to get their permission, their blessing, and their support for us to be able to shuffle forward to 10 feet in society. I think that's wrong because here's the deal. I know many white men who can stop me from getting into public office or stop me from becoming president of the United States. That's not truly possible for a man like me. But I have never met a white man who's ever stopped me from reading a book. I've never met a white man who stopped me from starting a business. I've never met a white man who stopped me from being a responsible dad and taking care of my kids. I've never met a white man who stopped me from eating healthy and working on my mental and physical health to be the best Black man I can be. And let me just tell you this, if we work with what we have, you got to understand, what do you have? Stop talking about what you ain't got or what they're controlling. Look at what you got. You have 1.6 trillion every year in spending power. That makes you one of the, if Black people were a country, we would have more wealth than 95% of the countries on this planet. So we got the money. Stop saying we ain't got the money. We got the damn money. Number two, we are smart, hardworking people. We are creative people. We're just distracted and we're out organized. So if we, instead of focusing on out there, what's going on out there, and we focus on what's going on in here, what's going on inside your household, what's going on in your neighborhood, what's going on in your life, what's going on inside your mind. If you focus inward instead of always looking outward, I guarantee you that your life will improve. And this ain't got nothing to do. And here's the deal. Here's the last point I'm going to make on this. I'm going to stop. Your life, if you make good choices as a Black person and you do your best to pour into your people, your family, your community, making good decisions, learning as much as you can, being the best you can be, you will ascend in society, whether there is a Democrat in office or a Republican in office. I have seen millions of Black people whose lives improved under Trump. And then those same people, their lives improved under Biden. Why? Well, because they're building wealth, they're saving their money, they're educating themselves, they're taking care of their kids, they're handling their damn business. Stop acting like a Biden or a Trump presidency decides whether you have an opportunity to succeed as a human being, because that is fundamentally untrue. I'm done. Thank you for allowing me to share that, babe.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard you talk about this and I agree with all of it, but I don't understand how does that mean? You didn't answer my question. My question was like, what does this mean? You go to the polls, like, what is voting for Black people? Like, what does that look like? So, I mean, that, everything you're saying is true, but, at the end of it, it's just a vote, I mean, what does that look like for you?
It means that it ain't nobody's damn business but mine, and you're not gonna bully me into being a Biden or a Trump supporter. You're just not gonna do it because
bullying you.
Well, no, what we bully each other. We when people, because I know people when they come out and they say I want to vote for Trump. Black people will call them coons and all this other stuff, but then there are Black people who want to support Biden and they get attacked as well. They're starting to get attacked as well. So it's starting to become this Hatfield McCoy thing. And what you got to understand is that this is how white supremacy and colonialism works. They do this all around the world. What do you think happened between the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda? They got those people, same culture, same country. They come in, they split them down the middle. They have the insiders and the outsiders, the house Negro, field Negro, and then next thing you know, these people are fighting and they're taking each other out. They're killing each other over somebody who doesn't even like any of them. And this has happened all throughout the world. It's happened in Iran. It's happened in India. It's happened in many parts of Africa. I just want to say, stop it. Stop that. Be one. Black first means, like, look, if you black first and I'm black first, I don't care if you're a Biden supporter or Trump supporter. I don't care if you're a feminist or not. I don't care if you're gay or straight. I don't care if you're male or female. I don't care if you're young or old. I don't care if you're rich or poor. I don't care if you're educated or uneducated. As long as we're on the same team, we can all make contributions in different ways. So when you got millions of black people that are going to vote for Trump, fine, go do that. Millions that are going to vote for Biden, go do that. But after you get done doing these things that I don't think are going to make a big difference in your life, I need you to come back to the table and focus, make the main thing the main thing. The main thing is what's happening with Black mental and physical health, what's happening with Black relationships and Black family, what's happening with Black wealth. If we focus on those things, we will be successful, and it won't matter who's in office. That's my point.
Okay, so your point is, are you saying that we should be non-participatory? Like that could be a way, like it doesn't really matter? Are you saying it doesn't matter who's in office, that is non-participation? I mean,
it may matter to some. It may matter to some people. Like when the Cowboys play the Eagles, there are people who cry because the Cowboys lost that day. They cry a lot because the Cowboys suck. But to me, you got to understand that this is like watching a football game. If your team wins, you're happy because you're cheering for your team. You've internalized that. But at the end of the day, you got to understand the difference between what's real and what's not. What makes a difference and what does not. So at the end of the day, as much as excited as I might get when my Cowboys win a big game, I need to remember at the end of the day, Jerry Jones ain't gonna send me no check. Jerry Jones ain't gonna pay my rent just because I cheered for him that day. Jerry Jones doesn't give a damn about me and my family. So I need to only give so much effort to him. If I'm giving more energy to whether the Cowboys win than I am to feeding my children and taking care of my family, then that makes me the sucker. That makes me the buffoon.
Okay, so what you're saying, I'm trying to paraphrase what you're saying. So what you're saying is that it really doesn't make a huge amount of difference because no one's stopping us from doing what we need to do anyway.
I'm saying, in my view, if you're talking specifically, if you talk about the things that matter to me, like how is the Black community doing? Yeah. I think we've done badly under all political parties. Yeah. So and people can't argue with me. You can't argue that when Democrats or Republicans are in office, Black people are prospering and flying. No, every single administration pretty much shows a decline. It just might, the rate of decline in specific areas may vary depending on the administration, right? So it's not to say that you can't, you talk about things like unions and healthcare. I saw somebody mention that point, and I think that's true. I support unions. I support healthcare, all that.
Here's the thing, like I'm not thinking that me going to the polls to vote for whomever I'm going to vote with, I don't think it's going to be like wizard moment. All of a sudden, Black people are just going to be fantastic because Biden wins another election. Like Obama taught us that. Obama taught us that we just aren't going to magically become the most wonderful people in the world just because he's president. And he not only taught us that, but he told us that. Like the way Barack Obama spoke to Black people and about Black people when he was in office was pathetic. And I was highly disappointed in a lot of the things that I heard him say. So let's just not. And I mean, Barack Obama, and let's just face it, Barack Obama and even Hillary Clinton, like if you were to approach them and call them liberal, they would look at you like your breath stink. Like they would be very upset with you because they're not liberal at all. Like a lot of their policies were very central. I guess we can call it sort of central, but if not, they were more right-leaning. So yeah, we do need to make a difference here if we're going to talk about politics, about what we're going to do in terms of social politics, like social policies versus economic policies, fiscal policies. Those are two separate things. And we do need to keep that in mind in terms of what's going to benefit Black people as a whole. You know what I mean? So some of these social issues, I think, is just one thing that's emotionally triggering, abortion and Title IX and affirmative action. These are emotional things that's going to get us to the polls to kind of vote. But underneath it all, you know, Biden took care of Wall Street and you know, Biden took care of the people he knew that was paying his bills. Like, so they're, you know, they're beholden, and so was Barack Obama, beholden to the people who put him in office, and he was good to them. You know, the very first thing Barack Obama did when he got into office is that he took care of Wall Street and the banks. And we were so disappointed. Like, we were expecting him. He got the Peace Prize, right? That was one of the first, he hadn't even done anything.
They gave him the Nobel Peace.
The Nobel Peace Prize, they gave it to him thinking that he was going to do all these wonderful things. And the first thing he did was bail out the banks. And I don't know, me as a social worker, I was disappointed.
And didn't he go and do some, like, go start bombing people right after he got the Peace Prize?
He bombed Africa.
Yeah, it was kind of hilarious. But to your point, well, I think at the end of the day, though, what you're saying reminds us of one key variable. This is what I think people should pay attention to, is that, you know, whether you're Democrat or Republican, they're all taking care of the elite. That's it. They're just taking care of the elite. And part of the reason I'm really big on believing that investing and using our wealth in an appropriate way is a solution that can truly make a difference for our lives is because we know that whatever president gets into office, they're going to take care of Wall Street. So by investing in stock, your wealth goes up when their wealth goes up. So the difference, though, is that instead of leaning on your black job for them to give you whatever crumbs they want to give you, you have black wealth, you have black owned, and the resources you have are resources you can apply to your family. Let me tell you like this. I do one-on-ones. You know this. I do a lot of one-on-ones with students in the Black Business School. And I can't tell you how proud I am of how many people I meet who started with absolutely nothing, who are doing quite well with their families. You know, you wouldn't even know they could be Jewish for all you know, or Asian or something, in terms of like people that are doing really well. And what's going on is you'll notice that it's just their value system. I don't need to ask them if they're Democrat or Republican. I do not care. But I talked to a father just today, a father who's 56 years old, who has hundreds of thousands of dollars in assets that he's been investing in. And he said in 2017, I had a job, and I heard you say something that changed my life. And I said, what did I say? And he said, you mentioned to me that the three ways that people make big wealth in this country are real estate, stock market investing, and owning your own business. He said, at that point, that changed everything for me. And I pivoted. And he says, since the pivot, I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars. My wife and I are running a business together. My kids work for me. And I did not see an oppressed man in that moment. I saw an individual who just leveled up. You know, he had a good black job. He's making good money. I think he still has the job, right? So he didn't, it's not about, you know, you being a sucker for working for the man. It's about creating options for yourself. And what I have found is that intelligent black people who are conscious, who create options for themselves, do well under any presidency. So why in the world am I going to be worried about something like Democrat Republican stuff when that's been proven not to work? But I've seen the solutions that actually have worked. And the big problem, I think the only time I intervene with these politicians is because they're into the pimp game. And the pimp game is that they want to convince you that you have no option other than to turn to the pimp. They need you to be focused on Joe Biden is your Lord and Savior, or Donald Trump is your Lord and Savior, instead of focusing on the fact that the only person that's going to save you is you. You are all you need. You are the superhero you've been waiting for. You are the person that needs to wake up, get up, and get out. And I can tell you, when I see that happen, these black folks are not struggling. They're doing good.
Yeah, and I so agree with that. And I don't like the scare tactics. They're saying if black people don't vote, it's going to be the end of us. It's not going to be the end of us. We've survived much worse than this. So, I mean, so I agree with you, Boyce. I don't disagree with you, but I just think that the purpose of us talking here is making commentary on some of the very disturbing mishaps that Joe Biden has had trying to campaign. I think that this process has been stressful on him. I don't know if he's getting enough sleep at night. I don't know if he's taking his vitamins. It looks like there's early signs of something happening. And, you know, political parties aside, I'm just as a therapist, what I'm seeing is just concerning.
Mm.
And
Well,
I don't feel good about the future of this, of this progression.
my prediction is that within the next week, Biden's going to go ahead and make the announcement that he's stepping down. I think that they probably see what everybody else is seeing, where literally every single day it's become like, what goofy thing did Joe Biden say on stage today? And you saw the whole thing with Zelensky, him calling him Putin instead, and then calling Kamala Harris Trump. That's just, even his allies are now feeling like, okay, it's done. It's time to do a curtain call. And so what I'm curious about is because politicians are great spin masters, I'm curious to see how they spin it, and I can see them spinning it too. I'm really wondering about, I know Michelle's not going to be involved. I'm sure Barack is doing something behind the scenes. I'm curious to see what direction they go with that. One thing I want to mention really quick is when we were talking about the politicians being in the pimp game. Let me tell you this. I want to lay out some sort of tactics of a pimp, and y'all tell me if you think that this is what happens in every election. Number one, emotional manipulation. I looked up the tactics that pimps use to recruit. Emotional manipulation. Give me a yes or no if you see the politicians emotionally manipulating people. It says creating a sense of dependence by appearing to provide love, affection, and attention that the victim may lack. Do you think that there are people who take advantage of the fact that the Black community gets ignored, and when we get a little bit of attention, we start screaming, "Lord, thank you, Jesus!" Right? Even Trump, when he talks about the Black community, people are like, "Oh my God, the white man acknowledged me," right? And right. So what else? What's another tactic?
So wait, I want to say something about that. That is the biggest pimp strategy. It's like they make promises to you. Here's what we gonna do.
Well, that's actually number 3 on the list.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm
I'll
gonna,
let you go ahead. I don't want to jump ahead.
let me read this to you, and then y'all tell me if you notice this. Deception. What?
So what you're saying is that they see that you're down and out and you're downtrodden. So they hype you up with attention because they know that you're attention starved, because a lot of the problems that Black people face is largely ignored, and we're on our own in our own feelings, and now it's election time, and all of a sudden it's like a front seat to your problems. Let me listen to what you got to say. And so they're just pandering to us and giving us the emotional attention so that we can feel like we're loved. Okay.
Yeah. I mean that love and validation that we seek. We really seek that. And
we have amnesia. That's what happens. Like sometimes, like, y'all ever have like a bad breakup, and then eventually when you think about that person again, you get amnesia. You forget about the horrible things that y'all been through together. And all you could do is think about the romance that you're missing out on, and you get amnesia. Okay. So that's kind of like a psychological thing that they know. Okay. Go on to number 2. What's number 2?
Okay. So actually, I'm gonna read number 2 because I gotta go in a minute. Number 2 is isolation. They isolate the victim from friends and family to make them more reliant on the pimp and prevent external influences. And this is what happens in an abusive relationship. And also, if you notice how often they are quick to label Black people that I believe genuinely want to help you, and they label them as dangerous, like Farrakhan. They've labeled Farrakhan as dangerous for many, many years, but yet they'll sit on stage with a gangster rapper who rapped about killing Black people, and they consider that to be perfectly acceptable. But they're
a rapper that's popping their coochie trying to get trying to get stuff. Okay.
Right. So the coochie popping rapper and the guy who wants to kill Black people and get your child addicted to drugs, that's a good person. But somehow Farrakhan, a man who tells you to be healthy and intelligent and to love your wife, he's too dangerous. We can't have you talking to him.
Gotcha.
What else? Let's see. The other thing on the list, number 3, deception and false promises, promising a better life, love, or legitimate employment opportunities to lure victims into the sex trade. So how often have you noticed politicians just making promises and then not feeling any obligation to keep them? It's almost like they never ever said anything in the first place.
No, I was going to say, or not even make a promise, but a lot of things that the Democratic Party has been doing now that they're campaigning is that they've been doing little crumbs. They're dropping little crumbs like, oh, we're going to get rid of student loans. Oh, we're going to do. So all of a sudden it's rapid procession of all of these policies they hadn't been doing for 4 years. And then all of a sudden it's like a rapid one, boom, 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 boom. All of these little tiny crumbs that they're doing that has nothing to do with the promise of more if you vote for me again. So it's almost like a carrot. They're dangling a carrot at the end, on the stick, saying, come this way, and this is what we'll give you. Oh, yes, I got it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So number 4 is intimidation or fear. Using fear, threats of violence, actual violence, or threats to family members to instill fear and compliance. Does anybody think they use fear to get elected? How many of y'all noticed the use of fear? Like on the BET Awards with Taraji screaming the whole time, Google Project 2025 is going to be the end of democracy as we know it. If Trump gets in office and the world comes to an end, that tends to happen in every election. I remember the last election. I remember Amanda Seals doing a video in the last election, literally, where she said, it doesn't matter. Stop talking about an agenda. Stop talking about what you want. We have one job. We got to get Trump out of office. There's no time for it, right? So what happens is that what fear does is fear gets you operating on that really baseline low level frequency where you are
die.
Yeah, right. Vote or die. Listen, Diddy, vote or die. Like if you don't vote for so and so, you might die. Right? They're going to come kill you. If that's not fear mongering, I don't know what is. And actually, let me tell you. You want to hear? I got a little interesting fact for you, baby. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Did you know that monkeys can do sign language?
Yeah, I did know that. Remember Coco?
Yep. And so check this out, y'all. Y'all gonna flip out about this. So monkeys have been doing sign language with their trainers, since the 1960s. So that's when they found out monkeys could actually do it. Did you know that in the 60 years plus that monkeys have been doing sign language, one thing that they noticed that where monkeys differ from children is that in all the 60 years they've been doing sign language with all the different monkeys, do you know not one single monkey has ever asked one single question?
Yeah.
Like you think about it, right? What do children do? Children be like, "Mommy, what is this? Mommy, what is that? Mommy, why did that man do that?" Kids ask questions about their environment, right? And that's what they were saying that this is a remarkable difference, right? This is a remarkable difference between the level of consciousness of a child and that of a monkey is that the monkeys just never ask questions. They can answer questions, they can comply with instructions, but they can't question things. So here's where I'm going with this. I really think that sometimes when we get pushed into our fear frequency and they get us vibrating on that lower spectrum where we're operating on pure raw instinct similar to what animals do, what happens? You don't ask questions anymore. When you are afraid, think about it. Look at what black people do when tell me, y'all answer this in the chat for me. If black people see a whole bunch of people running, what do people do? Do they stop and say, well, what's going on? Why are you all running? No, what do they do? Everybody just starts running, right? They all start running. Nobody asks, like, we ain't got time for questions. We got to go. I don't know what it is, but everybody's scared. So I'm going to be scared too, because that's what I need to do to survive. So when you get into the fear state, what happens is you stop questioning things. You stop saying, well, what is this that you, or somebody tells you, hey, this virus is going to kill you. Take this shot, take this medicine, just put it in your body. Well, what's in it? Well, you're a troublemaker because you're asking questions. You're asking, well, wait, why are you asking me to inject this in my body? People like that are seen as the troublemakers. But everyone else is just told, look, you're scared. Bad things are going to happen if you don't do this. We need you to just stop asking questions and comply. So to me, what happens is that they get you on that low level frequency where you're operating barely above the consciousness of a damn monkey.
Yeah. And, to quote the words of the people I love in my Hotep community, that fear shuts down your melanin and your ability to be creative.
Okay.
It shuts down your magic. You can't be magical creators when you're in fear.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, so I think that I just really think at the end of the day, whatever people do, again, I don't tell people who to vote for. I really don't care. I know some of you are voting for different politicians, and I just want to reiterate, all of you are welcome here. None of you are rejected. When you vote, though, when you make your move, don't just live your life out of fear. Don't make all your decisions out of fear. Like even when we talk about investing, and I was just talking to a student about this, the same guy I told you about who's investing for his family and all that is, I said the two biggest emotions to avoid investing are fear and greed. Those emotions will get you into trouble. You cannot make your moves based on fear. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let me read the last way pimps control people. The last one is financial control. Controlling the victim's money and creating financial dependence makes it difficult for the victim to leave or seek help. So if you think about this, let's expand this to the relationship between black people and white people. So when they got you, when literally your highest aspiration in life is financially is hoping that you get a good black job, and you're working for a person that does not come from your community, that does not have your best interest at heart, then what they're doing is they offer you that good black job because they want to keep you dependent. Because when you don't have economic independence, you cannot make independent decisions. You have to make decisions that are in connection, that are in alignment with the person who pays your bills. So one of the biggest things I would say for any black person that really wants these concepts like freedom and all that is you have just like when you're a kid, if you want to make the rules, you got to be able to pay your own bills at some point. And I would say that we still as a community have to work on that and not think that it's uppity for a black person to argue that we should seek some form of economic independence so that we can make decisions without fear and without worrying that somebody's going to cut our purse strings if we don't do what they tell us to do. I'll let you get the last word, babe, please.
No, I mean, I agree with all of this. Emotions, they play on your emotions. They isolate you by saying that these people are bad. Don't even listen to what they have to say. These people are terrible people. Well, no, I can think independently. Let me decide if those people are someone that I don't want to listen to or not. And seriously, everybody, like, you're not going to find one person to give you 100% the truth. Like, Boyce, I observe all sorts of media. I take in all sorts of media, and everybody is about 70% accurate. There are some people that I can say, okay, I can take or leave this part of them, but I can use my own critical thinking skills to figure that out on myself. That's why I don't care for social commentary so much, because I want to hear the source and let me draw my conclusion. So yeah, isolation, making a promise of something better. Well, don't have amnesia. What have you done for me in the past 4 years? And then all of a sudden you're going to promise me all of these things, right? And fear, for sure. Like, fear takes you out of who you are and the essence of who and what you are. You cannot operate on fear. And financial control, definitely. I mean, Lord, what they're telling old people that Donald Trump is going to take away your Social Security. I mean, how many elderly people? Social Security is a pay-in system. You get out what you pay into it. And most people don't ever get all of what they pay into it, especially Black people, because we don't live long enough to benefit from that as a whole, right? So, I mean, this financial control that they have over people, to say if Donald Trump or all these people, they're going to come and take your Social Security away. I mean, I think it's going a little too far in this fear mongering. So yeah, I mean, I think that this is the playbook. And guess what? Just because we're talking about it right here on this podcast, it doesn't mean that they're going to stop. It's not going to say, oh, Boyce and Alicia figured it out. Now we've been seeing, we're going to change our tactic. They're not going to change their tactic. We've now laid out a theory. And all we can do with this theory in mind is to just watch the data go into it. So from here on out, Boyce, we're going to be plugged in to what's happening in the world, like we always are. But we're going to be able to say, oh, that's financial control tactic. That's the fear tactic. That's promise for a better future tactic. Nothing is more mind control than giving somebody false hope. And that's what Barack Obama gave us, right? Keep hope alive, and hope. We can still hope and pray and all these things. And so this is a good layout of what we are to predict is going to be happening. Now we got the conventions coming up, right? The Republican convention, the Democratic convention. We have those coming up in the fall, and they're going to ramp up. I guarantee you these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tactics they're going to double down on these 5 tactics and go all in with more of this mind control.
Yeah, well, it's and that's not the most important convention that's happening this fall. We are having the All Black National Convention, if that's of interest to you. And the All Black National Convention this year, it is the largest gathering on earth of intelligent Black people who are committed to solving problems in our community. And so the All Black National Convention is going to be held this year in Lombard, Illinois. Brother Nuri Muhammad is going to be speaking there, along with some other dangerous Black people who are very smart. We This weekend we just met the president of the National Black Psychologist Association, which is going to be awesome. We're going to invite her. We're bringing in college presidents and attorneys and medical doctors and therapists who can help us solve problems, because I believe we can solve our own problems. I don't believe we need masses help. I think that we can be masters of our own fate and destiny by focusing on ourselves, our families, and our economics. So if you would like to join us at the All Black National Convention, feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And we're putting together a really nice roster of experts in many, many areas, from real estate to stock options. A lot of you have learned how to make money selling stock options from me. And by the way, tomorrow morning, if you are in the Prime program, we are going to have a Q&A for students. I'm going to do a pop-up Q&A at 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you're in Prime, check your email. If you want to get an invitation, just go to drboyceprime.com, 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 and you can take a look to see what we're doing over there. It's really, really impactful. So anyway, babe, I want to say thank you very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it.
Okay. What you got to do tonight? Are you going to hang out with me tonight?
I'm gonna hang out with you, and then
Okay.
I'm also hang out with my boys, and I'm going to Croatia tomorrow. So that's why she's asking me what I'm gonna be up to tonight. So baby, I promise you I will come, and who wouldn't want to go lay down next to the prettiest girl on earth? So I am gonna do that, but first I'm gonna go and my little guilty pleasures. I started playing Call of Duty, and I found that there are a bunch of other a bunch of other 45, 50-year-old dudes I could play with, and so
We got to get up early and exercise in the morning
we
too.
do, and I will see you in the bed. And also, I want everybody to know Alicia's website is coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. So if you want to go check out what she's doing as a therapist,
Empathy and compassion, boys.
yeah, book an
Empathy
appointment and meet her in person. Feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com, or you can follow her on Instagram at coaching with Dr. Alicia. So please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, guys. And also, if you want some free stuff from Dr. Alicia, also just text the word love to the number 87948. If you want to build healthy relationships, she's really good at that. So just text the word love, LOVE, to 87948. We can send you some information that way too. So have a good night, everybody. God bless you. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. And thank you, babe, for a great conversation. I appreciate it. See you guys later. Take care now. Bye-bye.